December 17, 1944. Hounsveld, Belgium. In the freezing darkness of the Ardennes, the engine of Joachim Peiper's Tiger tank sputtered and died. The fuel gauge rested at 0. Around him, the most powerful armored spearhead Germany had assembled for its last major offensive stood completely motionless. 67 tanks, hundreds of vehicles, and nearly 5,000 Waffen-SS soldiers were immobilized, not by enemy fire, but by empty fuel tanks. Ahead lay an abandoned American position. The U.S. troops had withdrawn so quickly that fires still burned in oil drums and coffee sat untouched in metal cups. And then Peiper saw it. Endless rows of American jerry cans, stacked in towering piles. Thousands of them. Inside was high-octane gasoline. As Peiper's men began frantically refueling their vehicles, the numbers became clear. Nearly 50,000 gallons of fuel, more than most German divisions received in half a year. Enough to push his column forward, enough in theory to save the operation. But as Peiper walked among the fuel stacks, another realization took hold. If the Americans could afford to abandon such quantities, then Germany was not merely losing battles. It was fighting a war it could never win. By late 1944, Germany's fuel situation was catastrophic. Allied bombing had destroyed synthetic fuel plants across the Reich. Aviation fuel production had collapsed. Tanks sat idle. Aircrafts were grounded. Even civilian traffic had vanished years earlier. Every liter was counted, guarded, and rationed. Meanwhile, the United States existed in a different reality. In 1944 alone, America produced 1.8 billion barrels of oil. Germany, including synthetic fuel and Romanian fields, managed only 33 million. The imbalance was overwhelming. The Ardennes offensive itself was built on desperation. German planners allocated fuel that was insufficient from the start. Peiper's Kampfgruppe was ordered to capture American depots to survive. Without stolen fuel, the advance was mathematically impossible. At Hounsveld, the captured fuel briefly revived German hopes, but documents found at the depot told a darker story. The gasoline had traveled from Texas to New York, across the Atlantic, through Normandy, and into Belgium, all in a matter of weeks. The Americans were moving fuel across oceans faster than Germany could refine it. Worse still, nearby depots revealed the true scale of Allied abundance. At Stavelot, American engineers deliberately destroyed over 2 million gallons of fuel to prevent German capture. Pillars of fire burned for days. Across the Ardennes, U.S. forces destroyed millions more, quantities exceeding Germany's entire allocation for the offensive. For Peiper, the message was unmistakable. The enemy could afford to burn what Germany would die to possess. American logistics dwarfed anything Germany could comprehend. The Red Ball Express delivered thousands of tons of supplies daily. Pipelines pumped fuel directly from ports to the front. U.S. armies consumed millions of gallons per day and still built reserves while fighting. German tanks, by contrast, drank fuel at ruinous rates. Tigers burned over 2 gallons per mile. Panthers nearly as much. By December 18th, Peiper's column had already consumed more fuel than it had captured. As the offensive stalled, German vehicles were abandoned not because they were damaged, but because they were empty. Entire formations froze in place. The final collapse came quietly. Fuel convoys destroyed, resupply impossible. On the night of December 23rd, Peiper ordered his men to abandon their vehicles and escape on foot. Perfectly functional tanks were destroyed where they stood, not by enemy guns, but by empty fuel gauges. Later, German officers would admit the truth. The Ardennes offensive failed not because of courage or tactics, but because Germany was fighting industrial warfare without the industry to sustain it. America's ability to produce, transport, and even waste fuel on a massive scale made defeat inevitable. Years later, Piper would reflect on Hounsfeld. Capturing the fuel depot, he said, was the worst moment of all. It revealed the truth too clearly. Germany was not fighting a war. It was participating in its own collapse.